Howdy, welcome back to Wobble Enjoy Sports. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider to like the content and subscribe to the channel. But if you're a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. Let's have a look at the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs 2025 fixture. Bulldogs pre-season begins against the West Tigers at Cogra. Then they shoot up to KO Stadium in Redcliffe to take on the Brisbane Broncos. Let's look into their first 6 weeks of 2025, their first part. They are taking on the Dragons in round number 1 out at Cogra for Saturday twilight footy. Round number 2, they take on the Gold Coast Titans from Belmore, and this will be the first game of the year for the Gold Coast Titans, and that game is happening on a Sunday afternoon. That is Sunday twilight, actually, technically. Round number 3 and round number 4, they are on the road back-to-back weeks. They take on Parramatta for Sunday afternoon footy. Then they take on the Sharks for Saturday night footy. Round number 5, they host the Newcastle Knights for another twilight game, a Sunday twilight game. And round number 6 finishes up with their first bye of 2025. So besides that trip up to Redcliffe, in the season proper though, they do not leave Sydney in any way, shape or form. Yes, technically they have back-to-back away games. And the strength of opposition against the Parramatta Eels, the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks, that will be the trickiest part to open up their campaign. But they host the Titans, who they, with all due respect, demolished last season, and then they take on the Dragons and Newcastle Knights as well. So that's a nice start. I think that is a nice way to start for the Bulldogs. A bit of toughness here and there, and they don't leave Sydney at all. So that's pretty good for a team that finished 6th in 2024. Doing things a little bit differently with the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs. I believe that their second section is a little bit longer compared to the other teams that I have looked at so far. Begins with a good Friday afternoon game against the South Sydney Rabbitohs after coming off of a bye. And then they're on the road 3 weeks in a row, starting with an Anzac Day Eve Thursday night clash against the Brisbane Broncos at Suncorp Stadium. In round number 9, they remain at Suncorp Stadium. They take on the Gold Coast Titans for Sunday afternoon footy. In round number 10, they take on the Canberra Raiders down at GIO Stadium, Saturday afternoon football. In round number 11 and round number 12, they have back-to-back home games, a Friday night football game against the Sydney Roosters, and then a Thursday night football game against the Dolphins. And that contest against the Dolphins is going to be Origin affected. Round number 13 is their second bye of 2025. They have their first bye in round 6. They have their second bye in round 13. I think that is their second section for 2025. Locked in, and the strength of opposition, they've got some huge marquee games against the South Sydney Rabbitohs, the Brisbane Broncos as well. Roosters on Friday night football will always be big time footy. They are on the road 3 weeks in a row. This will be a very interesting time. I don't think it's their most critical point, because that's coming up a little bit later, but this will be a very interesting time and will reveal a lot about the Bulldogs' chances in 2025. Part number 3 starts with the King's birthday public holiday game against the Parramatta Eels. And this is significant because the Bulldogs, they play the Roosters on Friday night football in round number 11, and that's going to be a fully loaded affair. Then in round 12, they take on the Dolphins, which is going to be Origin affected. They then take on, they take on the bye. They have their second bye for 2025 in round 13. From Friday night football in round 11, the day after that, right up until the King's birthday game against the Parramatta Eels in round number 14, Monday the 9th of June, the Bulldogs fans, the Bulldogs are not full strength. You will not see a full strength Bulldogs side for approximately 3.5 weeks. So this is going to be a massive game for a multitude of reasons, but the fans, the team, will finally be able to play full strength, will be cheered on full strength for the Kings public holiday game against the Parramatta Eels. That's going to be a really big event, I feel. In round number 15, they remain at Accor Stadium, and they're very, very sweet here with their draw right now. They remain at Accor Stadium to take on the South Sydney Rabbitohs for Sunday afternoon football, but this will be an Origin-affected clash. Round number 16, they have their third and final bye, and it happens a couple of days after the Perth Origin game. So that's a bit of a bonus considering Stephen Crichton is very much in front to be one of the first selected in Laurie Daly's New South Wales Blues team. In round number 17, Thursday night football, this is a blockbuster. They will be taking on the Penrith Panthers from CommBank Stadium in a fully loaded affair. Round number 18, it will be an Origin-affected game. The Bulldogs versus the Broncos from Accor Stadium on Friday night football. And to round out Section 3 for 2025, they zip up to North Queensland to take on the Cowboys for Saturday night footy. So from round number 14 through till round number 19, they play about 2 games. That will be Origin affected. Maybe there will be another resting in another game, but they will absolutely be playing 2 games that will be Origin affected. And in that second part, they take on their arch rivals. They take on Souths, Penrith, Brisbane, and a trip up to North Queensland. That is a dangerous part for the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs in 2025. If the Bulldogs are alive, fighting for the top 8 by round number 20, what will their run to the finals look like? It starts in round 20 and it begins with a clash against the St. George Illawarra Dragons for Saturday twilight footy. Round 21, this to a lot of people is the most anticipated NRL game for 2025. Finally, they will be taking on the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles for Sunday afternoon football at a venue yet to be confirmed. It looks like they're fighting for Belmore, but you'd be locking out about 10,000 people, I'd reckon. A venue yet to be determined, but Bulldogs versus Manly in the last week of July is one of the most anticipated games of 2025, if not the most. 1 week later, they take on the West Tigers at CommBank Stadium, Sunday afternoon footy. Back at Accor Stadium for Saturday night football against the New Zealand Warriors. That's a Channel 9 game as well. So we are at the final month of the year for the Bulldogs. We're at round number 24, and their final 4 games might be as hard as they come. In round 24, they are away to the Sydney Roosters. Who knows what they're going to be like, but they're going to be difficult. It's a Friday night football game. 1 week later, they're still on the road, so back-to-back weeks here. They travel down to Melbourne for Friday night football to take on the Storm. In round 26 and round 27, they do have back-to-back home games. However, round number 26, they host the Penrith Panthers for Thursday night football. And in the final round of the home and away regular season, they host the Cronulla-Sutherland Sharks for Saturday night footy. The final month is the Roosters, Melbourne, Penrith, and Cronulla. Well, 3 of the 4 are the top 3 premiership favourites coming into season 2025. My overall thoughts on the Bulldogs fixture for 2025 is that I think it is a good one, primarily because they don't leave Sydney a hell of a lot. They travel outside of Sydney approximately 5 times throughout the year. 3 trips to Queensland, 1 to Townsville, and then they travel to Canberra and Melbourne. So it's a really good draw in that regard. Where my concern lies for the Bulldogs, though, is the strength of opposition. They take on Broncos, Penrith, Cronulla, South Sydney, the Roosters, Parramatta, those 6 teams twice throughout 2025. And they do take on Penrith both times, fully loaded. And that run to the finals, it's okay until the last month. I'll include the Roosters here. So it is the Roosters, Storm away, followed by the Panthers and the Sharks at home. And that Sharks game looks like it could be a battle of 4th versus 6th again, sort of thing. So the Dogs, they really need to get enough points on the board in the first half or 3 quarters of 2025, because if they're going into the final month of 2025 looking for crucial points, wins against those 4 teams, they might miss out on finals for this year. Hey guys, thank you very much for your continuous support. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you. Take care. Adios. #RidenHigh 2025.